From disapproving of the reality star as a possible daughter-in-law to the NBA legend already having a beefy history with the girl's ex, here's how Michael Jordan opened up about his son dating Larsa Pippen. The basketball legend's trip to Paris was heavy on everyone, especially his 32-year-old son's love interest. Marcus confirmed his relationship with the TV personality in early 2023. And let me just say this, it didn't receive the warmest of welcomes. But that's all expected since Larsa was Scottie Pippen's wife, who's MJ's ex-buddy. On top of this, there's no way we can forget the 16-year age difference between the two. And just recently, it was revealed that Jordan shared the popular opinion and disapproved of this union. It's shocking because Larsa had been blowing the trumpet, making sure everyone knew the Pippens and the Jordans were okay with it. But clearly, she was hiding something. Let's get into the details here. Some paparazzi spotted Jordan having a quiet dinner in Paris, and when the champ was leaving, they bombarded him with questions till the media finally got what it came for. As Jordan tried getting away, the paps started asking him big-time questions, such as if his son would be marrying Larsa, or if he approved of their relationship. Now, when it came to the marriage question, Jordan's years of media training came in handy and he kept his lips sealed. But coming to the next question, it's either that the man's pulled one awesome prank on everyone, or he's got some serious explaining to do to his son. Did you know this is the first time MJ's spoken up about his son's relationship? Actually, scratch that, because MJ only bluntly muttered the word no and shook his head.
Hey, Mr. Jordan, what do you think about Marcus and Larsa Pippen together? You approve of it?
No.
You don't approve? Do you think he's going to ask her to marry him?
Of course, no one thought to double-check with him before the news hit the stands. Because when Jordan says something, you better listen. But get this, as soon as the word of Jordan's disapproval got out, everyone, and I mean everyone, began slamming Larsa. There was a whole parade of articles accusing her of lying. These articles also reported Michael's reaction as, hell no, but that really doesn't sound like MJ to me. So I'll advise you to take everything with a grain of salt here. Coming back to Larsa, she wasn't a huge fan of the reaction. During one of the recent episodes of the couple's podcast, Separation Anxiety, she told Marcus she was traumatized when she first heard about it. That's not all, she even felt embarrassed, because she'd gone all out to convince everyone that their families were on board with this relationship and Jordan's blunt no messed up all of her hard work. If you don't believe me, just head to her Instagram account right now. One small look at the comments and you'll see what I'm talking about. Honestly, it's beginning to seem like a witch hunt with everyone calling her a liar and waiting on her with their pitchforks out. Luckily for her, Marcus rose to the occasion and was always present with some much-needed clarity. The young Jordan was quick to point out that his dad laughed at the question, which obviously meant that he found them to be a little bit ridiculous. And this wasn't a shot in the dark, because Marcus actually received a call from his dad after the whole thing went down. MJ told his son about everything that had happened, and he warned him that a media storm might be heading his way. From the looks of it, Marcus forgot to keep his lover in the loop, or else she wouldn't have been so blindsided by the apparent disapproval. On top of this, Jordan checked in with his son again when the news hit the stands, letting him know that the media had exaggerated his reaction. And here's a plot twist I bet none of you were expecting. The podcast also revealed that MJ was in a really good mood when the paps crossed his path in Paris. So he was just having a little bit of fun with them. Chances are Jordan knew everyone was going to make a big deal out of this particular topic, which is why he gave the media what they wanted. All these years away from the court, but he's yet to stop playing games. Marcus took this opportunity to point out how truly gullible everyone was, always falling for gossip and never really taking a moment to see what was really going on. He even mentioned how all of us were simply running after entertainment, and we only saw headlines when, in reality, it was a great moment for the father and son's relationship.
Just a lot of perks. You know, we were raised relatively normal. I say relative because, I didn't take my first commercial flight until I was a junior in high school. I grew up playing PlayStation on a private jet. So
still, people reacted hilariously to the whole thing, even comparing Marcus to LeBron's 18-year-old son, saying he won't ever embarrass his father like that. If you believe that, then don't you think the scales are balanced right now? Since Bronny and his entourage were recently denied entry to a club in LA because the kid's underage. Another interesting take on this whole thing was LeBron wouldn't have cared about who his son was dating, and that MJ needed to take notes from the king. Considering that Jordan didn't care either, I'll go ahead and say this one backfired. Apart from this, some fans agreed with Jordan's supposed disapproval, saying they wouldn't have been okay with it either. Some even mentioned that Marcus was in dangerous territory right now. Because if he doesn't stop playing around, his father will soon be kicking him out of his will. Okay, that would be sad. Who wants to miss out on a $2 billion fortune? Now, if you're still confused by the whole approval thing, let me put your mind at ease. We're still in the gray area when it comes to Jordan. I know that didn't help, but considering it's MJ we're talking about, this is the best we'll be able to do. The basketball legend isn't one to overshare, especially when it comes to the details of his family. Still, Jordan reached out to his son, letting him know he didn't need his approval. That makes sense, because Marcus is 32 years old, and chances are that his relationship with his dad exists outside of his dating life. In fact, let me share something interesting here. When Marcus first heard about his dad's disapproval, he didn't even give it a second thought. And no, it wasn't because his father had already told him what was going on. Instead, he knew that he was a grown-up, which meant he could date whoever he wanted, even if it gave his dad the heebie-jeebies. Because I'm sure Larsa and Scotty went on double dates with MJ and his wife, back when things were good. But here's something even more interesting. Some fans think the only reason MJ made such a public show disapproving the relationship, it can only mean one thing. He was just shading Scotty. Come on, think about it. Jordan was probably poking fun at his ex-buddy by suggesting his wife wasn't good enough for his son. Speaking of the champ's ex-teammate, there's radio silence on that front. We still don't know how Scotty feels about the whole deal, as he hasn't uttered a single word about it. I can only assume that it's a silence of anger since he and MJ don't really have the best of relationships. All we know right now is that Marcus has hung out with the couple's 4 kids several times. I should also add here that Larsa ended her marriage to Scotty after almost 20 years, saying that it was an unhappy affair. So I guess we should be happy that she finally found love, even if it's with her ex-husband's ex-friend's son. Yikes, that's one hell of a complicated web. And while we're on the subject, I think it's only fair if we talk about the ongoing feud between Pippen and Jordan. One can only assume that Marcus dating Larsa will be making things worse for the two of them. But let's be real, Michael and Scotty already had a lot going on. In the beginning, the two were best friends and Chicago Bulls prized players for many years.
Hey, you know I'm with your ass. I'm gonna start, if it's in the bar, I'm gonna start a barroom brawl.
Yeah, I mean, your shoes okay? Sliding all over that place out there.
But soon enough, everything came crashing down. From what Scotty has said over the years, he wasn't a big fan of how everyone glorified Jordan. But the rest of their teammates were only given the sloppy seconds of MJ's fame. That doesn't sound like a good place to be in. The true beef began when The Last Dance docuseries came out, and as you'd expect, it had a whole lot of Jordan. As for the remaining players, a large portion of their spotlight was taken for them. And according to Pippen, Michael deserved a large portion of the blame.
6. Stopped it. Harper's on him. Behind the screen. Harper got a piece of it. It comes off.
I guess you could pin it on Jordan having a huge chunk of editorial control, which is why the project wound up with him being the leading man and the director. I guess all of this made Scotty feel like he belonged in the background, which wasn't something he liked. So there you have it. From the NBA legend already having a beefy history with the gal's ex, to disapproving of the reality star as a possible daughter-in-law. That's how Michael Jordan opened up about his son dating Larsa Pippen.